Hello Collective. Welcome back. Welcome back if you're returning, and welcome if you're just discovering this channel. It's pretty hidden in the algorithm, not just because it's small, but because it's so niche. So if you find yourself here and clicking on this video, you are just, because of that, a very rare person. So we're going to do an I Ching reading and some cards, maybe. Welcome, I said that already, to Wallaby Wonders if you're watching on Rumble, and Delphi Dawn. I'm Delphi Dawn if you're watching on YouTube. So we'll just get straight into it. It's sunrise here where I am. The bird should start singing very soon. I've got just candlelight here, and I'll just put this torch on the page so I can see the coins. Here we go. All right, so the question for today, where did I put the piece of paper? I'll just write it here. It's about the job that you don't want to do, or you've been putting off or avoiding. So that's a very big long space in the sound, isn't it? About the job that you have been it's about the job that you don't want to do is actually the way I originally worded it. Don't, when I ask the sage, want to do. But I was thinking that it's like a job you feel you have to do, or you think you have to do, and maybe you don't know, you sort of feel like you have to do it, but you don't know how to start. Maybe it's not really that you necessarily lack discipline. It's more that you don't know how to start, or you're not sure if you should do it, or if it's the right way to go about it, or there's something holding you back from doing this job, and maybe it feels like it's not pleasant and you're avoiding it because it's not pleasant, maybe. All right, so that's the question. Oh, I still need that. The sun should be up in a minute, and I'll be able to see a bit better. Right, we'll throw some coins. All right. So, dear sage, for the highest... That's funny, I wrote a boot. A boot the job that you don't want to do. Dear sage, for the highest good of the collective who clicked on this video, for the highest good of the whole, a message from the cosmos about the job that the collective doesn't want to do, or is avoiding, or doesn't know how to start. Okay, so we have 2 yins and a yang. That is 2, 4, 7. So that's a yang line, unmoving. Or I should do it in this pen so you can see it. Okay, next one. Yin line. Okay, so 3, 6, 9. That's a moving yang line. That's 3, 6, 8. That's a yin line. All even numbers are yin and odd numbers are yang. Heads are 3, tails is 2. You've got to add them up. So 2 tails and a head. That's 2, 4, 7. That's a yang line that's unmoving. Dear sage, please, for the collective watching this video, can we talk about the job that you don't want to do, that the collective doesn't want to do, or is avoiding starting, or putting off, or just feels difficult for some reason. Okay, now we have a 2, 4, 7. That's a yang line. Okay. Well, so far, we've got hexagram 37, which is the family. I'll just hold it up for you. Can you see that? Okay, yeah, that's hexagram 37, and you've got a moving line, a moving yang line at the 3rd place. So hexagram 37, and then it changes when the moving line changes. It changes to hexagram 42. So this is pretty encouraging. I'll just draw that up for you. So hexagram 37 is called the family, and hexagram 42 is usually called gain or increase or something like that. Okay, so you can see the 2 hexagrams. So 37 is the first one, which is the family, and it's got moving 3rd line there, and it changes to hexagram 42, which is increase. Okay, this is fairly simple to interpret at face value. So the moving line, okay, so hexagram 37 is family. So that means it's about staying within the family, like basically staying home, and about running the family in a appropriate manner, that everyone knows their place in the family, they know their duties and their jobs. And it's sort of suggesting in this time you're taking like a wifely approach in a way, like in a traditional sense of what a wife is, in that you need to stay home and take care of the food and the provision and the sanitation and being there for the emotional nurturing of the family and things like that. So it's basically like being at home kind of a vibe. And then you got the moving line in the 3rd place, which is about the father scolding the family. And so because you get that line in the 3rd place, that's kind of like you have to show some discipline. Like the basic gist of the line is like sometimes the father has to use a gruff voice or be harsh, but it's better than the kids running amok, sort of thing. Because if you don't show discipline early in the piece, then then things just get progressively out of hand, and there's like a kind of decay of decorum and morality and order and all like that. So it's about just keeping the order, and it's saying that there's certain times where it's better to be too harsh than not harsh enough, and this might be one of those occasions. But because we were given this, so that's like a traditional interpretation of hexagram 37 line 3, but because we've been given this book to read from today, that's a different kind of interpretation. And I think it's like, we'll look at both books because obviously both interpretations are relevant. We've been given the I Ching for writers, and this one, which is a very updated kind of version, and it talks about the inner world journey more than the outer 3D stuff. And in this one it might be talking about conditioning that the parents give you, and maybe you're not allowed to say no at certain times, but you should actually be able to say no. So anyway, that's a different interpretation. We'll look at them both. And then you get hexagram 42, which is increase. So after you take the advice of on line 3 about being very disciplined, and sometimes you have to apply harsh discipline it's better to be too disciplined than not disciplined enough, then you get increase, which means that you will be sort of successful and gain a lot from doing this thing that you've been putting off. Alright, I'll just check if there's any other hexagrams to go with this. Is there any other hexagrams to go with this stage? No. Alright, so let's have a bit of a read, shall we? We'll go to the I Ching for writers first. So, I think a lot of the people who are drawn to this content are creative people, which is why we often get you told to use this book. Now, you know, you may not literally be a writer, but you probably a creator of some sort, and the advice still works. So, okay. The interpretation here is, write what you know. Do you like my frog light? That was given to me by a friend. Very nice friend. Who might be watching the channel. I hope you're doing well, Tweety bird. Okay, so it says, the business of the poet is not to find new emotions, but to use the ordinary ones. Oh, yeah, I think there's something in this about, for writers, like by being super specific, you actually touch something universal, even though you're writing about what's totally unique in your situation. Somehow by doing that, you actually contact the universal experience that other people can relate to, even though they're in different situations. I don't know how that works, but it works. Okay, so the style of a poet is nothing more than the personality expressed in his bodily gestures. Since poems themselves are bodily gestures, they will naturally express this personality as well as the way the poet dresses or lights his cigarette. But since poems are bodies themselves, they will also express their own unique personalities, related to but distinct from the poet's. It is true that the poet speaks the poem, but the poem also speaks itself, and this is because it is a body. John Vernon. Okay, so your body, the work that you're doing has it's a body of work. It's a something in itself that, as well as reflecting you as separate from you. It reflects your personality, but it also is a thing unto itself. Right. Commentary. This hexagram recommends an orderly arrangement of person, family, home, community, and estate as a whole. To maintain order, self-knowledge is required and the right role expected. For the writer, this hexagram indicates that words will have meaning only when they spring from the familiar, the ordinary. When they arise from your own person. In terms of the I Ching, that is when all is in order and flame rises from its fuel naturally. Prediction. You will learn to write what you know, and that writing will be successful. So I guess it's a bit of like sticking with the tried and tested. It might be another way of putting it. You know, I guess it's doing the thing in the way that you know that you're sure will work. That's most accurate and representative of what you know to be right. Okay, advisory. You should write about what is familiar. If you do this, you and your writing and your immediate community will be nurtured. For the writer, think back to the first community to which you belonged. City, town, suburb, country, school, place of worship, sport club, special interest group. What brought that community together? What were its shared values, subjects of gossip, and points of contention? How did it feel to be a part of it? Write either a short poem or work of prose in which you answer some of these questions. Okay, so you've got moving line 3, 9, yang at the third place. So 9 at the third place means if you are too severe in following what you know, success will follow nevertheless. But if you dally and are happy as you seek the topic with which you are most familiar, distress follows. Write a short work in which you explore the subjects in which you know most about. What are you an expert in? Okay, so yeah, maybe not going out of what you know to be true. Like if you don't try and pontificate about stuff that you're not sure about. Hello, pussy. Hi, Mimi. Alright. So in this one, I'll just read the moving line because it is very long. Yeah, that's a way long text to read the main stanza. So I'll just read the moving line. But it's basically about the family. But that can be, within yourself as well. It's like getting things in order, basically. But you've also taken on stuff from your family of origin or your original communities, just like the last one was saying. You may be carrying stuff on board that you don't realise you're carrying, and that's affecting your decisions. Okay. Here we go. When tempers flare up in the family, too great severity brings remorse. Success if one retreats. Okay, so that's what I mean about the two different interpretations almost being like opposite. Like one of them sort of saying you need to show more discipline or more severe temper, and the other one's like going don't be too severe. So it's probably about like whether the severity is appropriate for the thing that it's applied to some degree. Success if one retreats. When women and child dally and laugh, it leads in the end to humiliation. And it's got a asterisk here. I'm just going to see what it says. The asterisk says, success if one retreats, and there's an asterisk that says, the common argument that animals also display dominance and that dominance is a part of nature suffers from a similar superficial explanation of behaviour. We can always check with the retrospective coin throwing method to what extent the animal behaviour we observe is true or false, or is it due wholly or in part to human projections. Okay. Yeah, here we go. This is getting deep now. So it says, temper in the child can be an expression of his feelings of helplessness due to one or more spells put on him, sometimes already at conception or in utero, and his feeling of being imprisoned within those spells. Examples of such spells are, he was an unwanted child. Right, so these are things that might be affecting the situation on a hidden level that's making someone act out. Because, we could be talking about your inner child or someone that you're dealing with their inner child. So someone's acting out and it's saying that whether it's you or someone else, that this could be due to these spells or inner programs, conditioning that's been put on them even perhaps since before they were born, potentially. And some of these spells could be he was an unwanted child. Gender's not important here. It's he or she, that he or she was an unwanted child, that he was born at an inconvenient time, that he is ugly or defective, or that he has unfavourable genes or inherited characteristics of a family line. So, could any of these things be affecting the situation? Do you believe something like that about yourself, or maybe somebody else in the situation is projecting that onto you, or projecting it onto a child or someone else in the situation? So is this projection at play in the situation, consciously or unconsciously? I mean, somebody could actually be just flat out saying that. They could be saying, someone could just be telling someone that they're ugly and defective, and that might be causing the problem. Other spells are created by family expectations, such as those put on the firstborn as the future head of the family, or the daughter as the future caretaker of the parents in their old age, etc. Other spells are created when the parents act from their mistaken ideas and beliefs that all children contain a potential, if not actual, hidden monster within them that must be subjugated right away. This idea is based on the conventional belief that children lack inherent guidelines of correctness, that they don't come with an inner sense of goodness. Okay, there's another asterisk here. It says, we have changed the text from good fortune nonetheless because of its obvious inconsistency with the meaning of the line. Okay. Temper can be adopted by a child after he has seen or experienced temper in the parents or others. Okay, so maybe the parents are blaming the child for throwing tantrums, but the parents themselves throw tantrums all the time. So, where are they getting this behaviour from? Yeah. If the parents do not correct their own displays of temper, the child's temper can become a means for him to compete with them for dominance, his will over theirs. This in turn can lead to the development in the child of the bully ego, whereby he seeks through displays of temper to dominate others and assure himself of being king in all his relationships. All causes for temper in the child will disappear once the parents have rid themselves of the root phrases, fears and beliefs that are behind their own attitude of dominance. Right, so, if somebody's trying to dominate someone else, particularly a child, they're behaving like that potentially because that's how someone else has behaved around them, and that's the only way they feel they can get their way. But a parent's not going to stop a child from being a bully by bullying them. Once temper has become an instrument in dominance in the person, the correct response for the one encountering temper is to retreat. A properly formed retreat deprives the ego of its energy to continue. The retreat needs to begin at the first show of temper and remain in effect until the person returns to communicating sincerely. This action can bring the success mentioned. Oh, it's just the cat. I thought someone was coming in the room. Hello, pussycat. This action brings the success mentioned. See page 538, retreating from conflict or opposition. So we might actually have a quick look at that. Because it'll make the reading longer, but it'll make it much more, it will get to the crux of the matter. Somewhere, some bit of programming that's getting in the way will be undone. So 538. Retreating from conflict or opposition. Okay, now this is 4 paragraphs or something long. Oh my god, and then there's all these too. Oh no, is that... Alright, well let's just start and have a look. I'll leave a pen on this other page. Or a card. We have to get back to that line. So we'll just go to page 538 and read retreating from conflict or opposition. So I just got, as I was contemplating this now, that the reason possibly why the task or the job that you don't want to do is because there's conflict or opposition involved in it. That's why you're not just going for it. There's some inner conflict about the task, or the task involves dealing with a conflict or some opposition, possibly with someone who's got a bad temper. Okay. Retreating from conflict or opposition. Retreating means withdrawing inwardly from all argumentative attitudes with yourself, with the others, the cosmos, nature, fate, life, etc. The idea of opposition has no cosmic validity. Everything in the nature of the cosmos is based on the principle of harmony. Therefore, when you see anything or anyone as your opponent, enemy, or adversary, it is a sign that you have separated from the cosmic harmony and are engaging in an inner war. Continuing always leads to humiliation. Wow. That's just profound in itself, don't you think? So, the idea of opposition has no cosmic validity. Everything in the nature of the cosmos is based on the principle of harmony. Therefore, when you see anything or anyone as your opponent, enemy, or adversary, it is a sign you have separated yourself from cosmic harmony and are engaging in an inner war. Continuing always leads to humiliation. Right. Okay. So, next bit. Withdrawal from conflict first requires relinquishing the demands of the ego in yourself by saying no to seeing anything as an opponent. Interesting. Second, ask the sage in your presence for help. If your conflict is with another, also ask the sage in that person's presence to intervene with the ego in him. Doing this is helpful in all situations and group meetings. Calling on the sage in a person's presence is one thing the I Ching means when it counsels us to see the great man. So you have to recognize that the other person has a piece of God in them as well. Even though they may seem like your opposition or your enemy or whatever, they too are a child of God. Essentially, you know, the universe has put them here for a reason. They are also a part of the great cosmic plan. Excuse me. All right. Retreating into an attitude of reserve is the correct response to any ego display in others. Vindictiveness, temper, etc. This begins first by retreating from the ego in yourself by saying the inner no to indulging in any anger or annoyance. So, you next disengage from eye-to-eye contact. The ego in a person derives its energy from being recognized in another's eyes until the person returns to humility. The need to retreat can be either inner or outer, such as When you watch an evil deed with your inner eye and make a judgment that the other person is doing it is evil. That's an example. You need to retreat from that kind of thinking. Okay. When you argue inwardly with another's statements or ideas. When you fasten on a subject or person with worry or anticipate possible negative consequences. Retreat does not mean you smother natural feelings of dissent. It means you first say the inner no when there are clear feelings of wrongdoing and ask the sage and the cosmic helpers to take care of it. This means that you also give your anger over to these helpers. So you can't hold on to your anger if you want a resolution with this conflict. So obviously, the task that you want to do or that you don't want to do but you feel you need to do or whatever has some element of conflict very strongly, or an obstropolous person or something like that as a part of this, or an inner conflict, or a conflict about the right way to go about things, or actually dealing with an actual conflict with someone. Okay. When the retreat is done sincerely, there is no need to be noticed by the other. There's no need for it to be noticed by the other. Okay, so you don't make a show of retreating. Sulking is not a retreat, but a display intended to make a point. It only shows that the ego is still attached to the conflict. A retreat has only one aim: to end the conflict and the exchange of energy that conflict creates. If the other persists, it may be necessary to signalize, I've never noticed that word before, signalize one's determination not to participate in any further discussion. The unexpected effect of retreating is that the energies of your anger become transformed into helpers that will show themselves in exactly the right way at the right time. Okay, so your anger gets transformed somehow and you get a right idea basically at the right time. Okay, well, that goes on and on. I might go back to the other page now. Where were we? So that's about how to retreat. Okay, so I'll just go back to the sentence where we left off on, so we know where we're up to. Okay, the retreat needs to begin at the first show of temper and remain in effect until the person returns to communicating sincerely. This action brings the success mentioned. Okay, too great severity brings remorse, counsels a person to avoid jumping to conclusions when it is unclear from which source temper is coming. He needs to be firm and correct in retreating from the ego. He must not be too severe, act from the ego in himself. So, making a big display or show of your retreat is actually counterproductive. It's like a quiet retreat. Where was it? He needs to be firm and correct in retreating from the ego. He must not be severe, act from the ego in himself. He also needs to be sure that the other is not reacting to his or another's attempt to dominate, or to a childhood experience of having been dominated. So someone could just be triggered because people have tried to dominate them before and they're very touchy on that. People tend to either want to crush a child's anger, wrong word, it's temper. People either tend to want to crush a child's temper by force, counter temper, or to dally and laugh with him. So, okay, if it's not literally a child or a teenager, it could be just someone's inner child or the part of them that's behaving childishly. Or it could be you and the part of you that's behaving childishly, your inner child. You know, that's part of why you need to retreat to feel these things out. Okay. People tend to either want to crush a child's temper by force, counter temper, or to dally and laugh with him to distract and disperse his temper. The latter is often done by offering the child food, sweets, or coddling. Dallying may also refer to trying to reason with the child. The consequence of dallying, whether in the child or the adult, is to encourage him to use temper to get preferential treatment. The child who is treated with sweets as a means of diversion then develops a craving for sweets every time he feels helpless. So that's maybe related to helping someone break their sugar addiction. So okay, and it doesn't have to be literally sweets. It could be whiskey. It could be whatever you lean on. Like, I think this is like sweets could be a shorthand for any addiction potentially. The child who is treated with sweets as a means of diversion then develops a craving for sweets every time they feel helpless. That could be anything. Sweet is a subjective perception, let's say. Some people find the taste of gin sweet. I personally can't stand the smell of the stuff, but some people think that's sweet. So there you go. The child is treated with sweets as a means of diversion, then develops a craving for sweets every time he feels hopeless. Children offered other consolations develop other types of dependencies. So there, that just explained what I was saying. It is important to distinguish temper from the child's rejection of something that feels incorrect or unjust to him. So sometimes the temper is entirely valid. And if you try and crush the child when they're actually just setting a very important personal boundaries, that's very harmful to them. When the child is punished for correctly saying no to something incorrect, it turns a switch in his brain that prevents him from saying the necessary no's in his adult life. Or this could be you too. Much of the process of freeing the true self is carried out by saying the inner no's, which is impossible for a person in whom that ability has been repressed. So some people are just taught from childhood that they have to say yes to everything, that saying no just comes with too much pressure or consternation or whatever, too much consequence, too many bad vibes from someone else in their family, so they can't even say no when they need to for the simplest things. To remedy this situation, see page 531, saying the inner no. I'm going to go to page 531 and see about saying the inner no. Because sometimes it's just one of these key phrases that unlocks a whole heap of things. 531, saying the inner no. Okay. Wow. Saying the inner no is a cosmic principle of having the cosmic function to transform discordant situations by removing their disturbing components in the atomic realm or realm of consciousness. Saying the inner no is the most direct and correct way to deprogram all active aspects of the collective and individual egos in oneself and others. It deletes the individual phrases and images that have been taken into the psyche, which make up the ego and give rise to ego emotions. It deletes the mistaken ideas and beliefs we have formerly said yes to, either consciously or unconsciously. We say it to each of the ego's phrases and images that as they are brought into our consciousness, usually with the help of the sage. I've got some movement happening. Oh, hello, pussycat. Where are we? We say it to each of the ego's phrases and images as they are brought into our consciousness, usually with the help of the sage. Saying the inner no is also the most direct means by which projections, spells, and poison arrows are extinguished in the psyche. Oh, I'm quite hungry. I don't know if you can hear my tummy rumbling. I decided to put off eating until after the reading as a small, even though I haven't eaten since yesterday afternoon or something, but I'm really conscious of all the people in Gaza who aren't eating right now, and somehow just going without myself feels like an act of solidarity. It must be incredibly difficult. I cannot imagine how difficult what they're going through is. I find it hard enough to go without food for 12 hours or something. To go without food for days, weeks, months, however long it is for each person must be just awful. Where are we? Okay, right, so we're saying the inner no is a message to the other's true self that what they are doing is incorrect. Unlike the outer no, which often comes from self-righteousness and raises the ego's opposition, the inner no avoids the loss of faith that arouses hatred. Saying the inner no consciously affirms and strengthens what our common sense and feelings have already recognized as incorrect. The inner no is the most effective when it is said 3 times with inner resolve and from the heart, but unaccompanied by hostile emotions. So saying it with the right feeling 3 times. With feeling. With the right feeling 3 times. Okay. It needs to be noted, however, that saying the inner no effectively is not possible if we have not clearly seen and inwardly agreed that it is needed. Clarity is essential. Any inner resistance or fear of becoming guilty makes it ineffective. The inner no is also ineffective when, due to conditioning, there is an inhibition to saying the inner no. Generally, see below. In such cases, the sage can be asked to say the no for us. So if you can't say it for yourself, you can ask the sage to say it for you. I like that bit. The deprogramming methods given on page 550 do not require saying the inner no. Okay, so I'm going to read this list. These are situations that require saying the inner no to. So something in this list might be the reason for whatever conflict you're having, and saying the inner no 3 times to whatever rings a bell or goes clang or whatever it does for you in this might could unlock the situation. Situations that require saying the inner no. To attitudes or behaviours, self-righteousness, self-pity, demands, competitive behaviour, temper, threats, encroachments, idle curiosity. That's a lot just there, but we've got a lot more to go. Blaming oneself or others, and the use of power or belief in the use of power. Because in the cosmic way of doing things, things happen by harmony and transformation. When you use power, you usually get kickback. You're forcing something. In the cosmic thing, in the cosmic way of doing things, you don't force things. So using power implies domination, which is it's an affront to someone's dignity, their sovereignty, and their free will. So people need to do things because they believe it's the right thing to do. Okay. Or the belief in the use of power. Okay, situations that require saying the inner no. Okay, next lot. To ego emotions. Guilt, desire, fear, anger when promoted or seized by the ego. So not all anger is an ego emotion. But ego anger is a problem. Boredom, envy, pity, etc. What else do we need to say the inner no to? Self-images of all kinds, including the modest person. I'm using air quotes for these, but I can't do it because I'm holding the line. But to self-images of all kind, including the modest person, the spiritual person, the superior man, etc. So trying to conform to a self-image leads you into conflict because you are bigger than just any one of those titles, let's say. To mistaken ideas and beliefs. You also need to say the inner no 3 times to any mistaken ideas or beliefs you have, and to the rationales that support them and keep them in place. Example, it cannot be that easy to decrease the ego only by saying the inner no. Okay, say the inner no 3 times to images that support mistaken ideas. Example, the image of going downhill, deteriorating, or getting certain illnesses connected with the idea of getting older. These are all spells you need to rebuke, basically. Note, saying the inner no can only temporarily make ineffective the things mentioned above. To delete them permanently, we need to deprogram them. When in doubt whether it is correct to say the inner no to someone's ego behaviour, use the coin throwing method to verify if it's appropriate to do so, or whether you're saying the inner no is effective. So that means just get the 3 coins. Yes is heads, tails is no. So 3 yeses is a wholesome yes. Hello, pussy. 3 heads is a strong yes. 2 heads and a tail is a weak yes. It's like a yes but or a yes sort of yes. And same with the no's. 3 tails is a very strong no, and 2 tails is a weak no. Yes, so, alright. Hi, pussy. Mimi. Right. Now, where are we up to? So you need to check with the sage whether it's appropriate to say the inner no to certain things, especially if it's regarding somebody else. So yeah, when in doubt whether it is correct to say the inner no to someone's ego behavior, use the coin throwing method to verify whether it is appropriate to do so, or whether you're saying the inner no is effective. Okay. The above mentioned activities of the ego are often based on seed phrases and images that need to be identified with the help of the coin throwing method. When we say the inner no to something untrue, a helper is temporarily freed. If we then follow up by deprogramming the untruth, this helper can participate in deprogramming and support our efforts. Thus, we are progressively freed and helped, and we gradually eliminate the root phrases, images, and belief systems on which the ego is built. Alright, the cat's getting restless. But we'll keep going. So, that's right, we have to finish the last last two paragraphs. Okay. Where were we? Okay. So we were talking about sweets and dallying with the child, or trying to dominate the child, and neither of those being an appropriate method for dealing with this conflict. We need to say the inner no to the seed phrases and images that are causing the conflict in the first place, and to the ego, and to retreat. It is important to distinguish temper from the child's rejection of something that feels incorrect or unjust to him. When a child is punished for correctly saying no to something incorrect, it turns a switch in the brain that prevents him from saying the necessary no's in his adult life. Much of the process of freeing the true self is carried out by saying the inner no, which we just went through, which is impossible for a person that ability has been repressed. As for the adult who is punishing a child, his resort to severity indicates that he is acting under a spell put upon him. This spell is the self-image of the parent as the disciplinarian. Through severity, he hopes to eradicate demons in the child that actually reside in his own psyche. These demons are repetitive feelings of ought and should in his mind. They insist if he does not apply strict punishments, he will be guilty of creating unrestricted chaos in the world. Such a spell and its accompanying phrases and images need to be eradicated from the parent's mental program. So that's a spell. But, it's actually a false belief that if you don't be a disciplinarian, that everything's going to go disorderly. The person who experiences the first hint of temper in another person needs to say the inner no and then retreat, as mentioned above. He also needs to discover the spell under which that person labours and extinguish it. One such spell, common to people who have developed the habit of relying on their tempers, lies in their saying, "I have a bad temper." It is reinforced by others who attribute the bad temper to that person's nature when they say, "That is the way he is," or "He's a type of A personality." Such spells need to be broken to return the person to his true nature. Right. Okay, so doing this work will bring increase, this deprogramming work. So the job you actually need to do is do some deprogramming. So likely one of those phrases would have jumped out at you, or the one you remember. That's probably a good place to start. Or you can use the coins yourself to ask what it is that needs deprogramming. You're carrying some false belief, or somebody else is. And so when you do that, then you get the increase. I will read increasing because it's very encouraging. You probably need to hear that. Oh, incidentally, I didn't do a reading for 15 days or something, but I knew you were okay, collective. I didn't read on camera for you, but I did a reading that said that you were protected and somebody up there likes you. And I did a reading for myself and I had work to do. So I knew you were all right, even though you may be doubting it, that you were perfectly safe and fine. So, you know, no news is good news quite often. But someone up there likes you, collective. That was the little reading I did for you that I didn't do on camera last week. So where are we up to? 42. So doing this work, this inner work, this deep programming work, like you might even, you know, if you've got some serious deprogramming to do, go back to the bit in the video, just rewind it and go through those seed phrases again if you need to. And try and figure out which one might be affecting the situation. You can use the coins, ask the coins yes or no, what the issue is. I mean, they're just launching pads, those seed phrases. There could be something similar. It doesn't have to be those exact ones, but something like that. Anyway, so you say the inner no to these wrong ideas and these ego emotions, and then you get the increase. The work brings you the increase. Increasing. It furthers one to undertake something. It furthers one to cross the great water. The harmonious activities of the cosmos are directed towards increasing all parts of the cosmic whole. Increasing the welfare of the whole as a cosmic principle that reveals the loving and caring nature of the cosmos. Oh no, I'm not going to read all of this. It's just an increase on every level. But okay, I'll just read a few key phrases out of here. It furthers one to undertake something can also be a statement to encourage a person to follow his goal. He has available from the cosmos all the help he needs to do what he is meant to do, even though he has been doubting it. It is now a matter of recognizing how the goal is to be accomplished. This is addressed in the next sentence of the judgment. It furthers one to cross the great water means that the person needs to go as far as he can with his own efforts and then turn the matter over to the helpers for completion. For it is only they that can complete the crossing. An example is the violinist who practices and perfects his techniques and studies the phrasing in preparation for his performing. But when the time for the performing comes, he asks the helpers to guide him and help him in the performance. Crossing the great water with the help of the helpers is like being carried across, even though one first had to learn how to swim. It is only through this joint approach that the great deeds mentioned can be accomplished. This is true not only for the performing and other arts, but for all creative activity, healing, discoveries, business activities, sports, agriculture, craft, finding solutions to problems, etc. Activity that is accomplished jointly with the helpers succeeds because it gives expression to the person's uniqueness and benefits the cosmic whole. So those are a couple of clues, like when what you're doing gives expression to your uniqueness and benefits the cosmic whole, you're going to get a lot of cosmic help with that, and it's going to be successful. Talks about making transformations in the atomic world. and that the helper of transformation is the helper of increase. Okay, so what that's saying is that the transformation itself is the increase, or a transformation has to happen for the increase to happen. So you don't get the increase without the transformation. The situation has to be changed on the atomic level, and then it goes forward very well in a really successful way that's almost like effortless because you've done most of the work already. Okay, so that's the general gist of it. All right. I will read you from this one though because it's shorter and we didn't look at this, did we? 42. This will only be short. So, expand your text. Wind above and thunder below, the two elements reinforcing, strengthening and increasing each other, they indicate the need to expand one's work, to increase the number of words and pages, to pay more attention to the current manuscript. This time will not last forever, so it's important to begin expanding your work quickly without sacrificing quality. You will increase the degree of detail, the number of words or pages, the amount of attention paid, or the level of development in your work to a good result. Proceed with some degree of speed because this hexagram indicates that the time in which to expand your text is fleeting. As you expand your work, it is necessary to expand yourself as well. You must look inside yourself and be generous as you know how, to yourself and to others. Imitate men and women who are good. Find parts of yourself that are small or stingy and pull them out by the root. Okay. So it's doing this work, the inner work of deprogramming, despelling, finding out what the obstruction actually is in the situation rather than assuming it, and retreating from conflict is going to be very successful. Will bring you a big increase. Okay, I'll just get a few more cards for clues. Anything the sage can tell us. I was guided to use the unicorn deck, which is almost like a kid's deck, but it'll probably clarify things in a nice, simple way. Okay. Dear sage, please expand on this issue through the unicorn cards. I haven't used these for a while. They feel good. They feel very friendly. Kitty cards. Alright, so about the job that the collective doesn't want to do, or is having trouble starting, or is avoiding, or doesn't know how to go about it. Can you please give the collective some clues for the highest good, dear sage, who always helps clarify the way. Transformation. Alright, first card, basic gist of the situation is relax, everything's fine. Okay, don't worry, it's all going to be fine. That's what it says. Okay, possible block, challenge, what you're not seeing, maybe. What's the tricky bit? Yes, darling, we're nearly finished. Pussycat wants to go soon, so we'll wrap this up. Possible block or challenge. It's okay to be different. You don't need to be like everyone else. You're perfect just as you are. So maybe somebody's making you feel like shame about your unique qualities, or whatever it is about you that is unique. You're okay. You So I'm just getting here. You may need to say the inner no 3 times to someone who's trying to shame you for being different in some way. That we're all unique for a reason. That each of us has qualities and talents and gifts that we bring to the world that are needed. If we were all the same, it would be very boring. There would be no innovation. There would be not much creativity. So whether it's you being down on yourself for your differences, or some program from childhood, or someone directly having a go at you because you're different, well, the sage is rebuking that. Saying it's okay to be different. Don't worry, just because you're different doesn't make you less than. And anyone who's trying to make you less than because you're a bit different in some way, well, just 3 inner no's to them. That's their ego speaking. That's their projection, not yours. Yours to carry. Whoever they are, they can learn to appreciate difference. We all bring something unique to the table for a reason, because they're all the ingredients we need for the delicious cosmic soup. Okay, help us guidance, please, Sage, through the unicorn cards. Help us guidance. What will help the transformation with the job that the collective doesn't want to do, but they feel they have to do, or they don't know how to start, or whatever it is. About the job that they don't want to do. Yes, Pussy, we'll go soon. Yes, she's getting hungry too, I think. It's breakfast time for pussycats. The sun's coming up now. I'll turn this light off in a second. It's a bit of a harsh light. Here. Oh, that's better. Or maybe I'll just put it towards the wall like that. No, we don't need it anymore. The sun's coming up. Isn't that Pussy? Alright, okay, so Pussy, doing a purr on the cards? Yes, the Pussy magic on the cards. Alright, yes, Pussy input. Okay, Mimi, what did the people on the video need to know? Help us guidance for the transformation. Water. Drink water and eat foods with water in them, such as fresh fruits and vegetables. So I'm also getting, I'm hearing I'm hearing like water sounds. Maybe the sound of water running or something might help you relax. Maybe being near the water, getting some water energy. It's not just the drinking of the water. Maybe just go for a walk by the creek or the river or the ocean or something like that might help. Maybe water is an actual part of the issue. Oh, I just dropped 2 cards. Pussy, how can I get the cards? Hang on a sec. Got the cards without losing the cat. Alright, so most likely outcome. Please, Sage. Most likely outcome, having followed this advice, to drink more water and eat more foods with water in them. So dehydration is an issue. Stay hydrated with this. And also, so it's good if you're deprogramming or letting go of spells or whatever, you can drink a cup of water and think about an issue, and as you go and relieve yourself half an hour, however, 3 hours, however long it takes later, you can release that issue. Sorry, you can see my hands. As you relieve yourself, you can relieve yourself of whatever you were thinking about as you were drinking the water. You've digested that, you've cleaned out that issue, you've washed that away. You know, you can wash that programming away. You can let it go, flush it, cleaning the insides. Yes, yes, pussy. Most likely outcome. One step at a time. Lots of little steps make big dreams come true. So, step by step. It's okay to do it your way, I think, too. I'm just getting here from it's okay to be different. It's okay to do it your way. You can, you know, you can't really be anyone but who you are. Take it step by step. Drink your water. You'll be right. It's mostly what's the issue with this job that you don't want to do is some spell deprogramming. So you stay home and take care of business in the family and deprogram some of these spells, and you'll get an amazing increase. And it's about finding the right thing that's underneath the conflict. So you dear viewer, will have to get yourself 3 coins and throw the coins to locate the issue. What's the false belief that needs deprogramming? Often it's something that you just say habitually, or it could be something that you say to yourself all the time. It could be just like one of those expressions like you never know. That's often wrong because you can know. You quite often know, but people say you never know, but it's untrue. So it could be just some little thing that you're saying to yourself about that situation or the conflict or the job or whatever. Something you're saying to yourself about it is actually untrue and needs to be rebuked and deprogrammed. All right, let's have 2 cards in. These are picture cards. I'll get 2 pictures for each position. Okay, in the situation position, what does it involve? We've got the master. Oh, don't worry, it's all going to be fine. So you're a master of this situation. You're better at this, I think, than you realise. You will master this situation that you're dealing with. Or you could be dealing with a master. But my first inclination is to say you will master this situation. Don't worry, you've got it. You've got this. What else? The lesson. You will master the lesson. So there's a lesson in here. Once you master the lesson, you'll be right. Maybe it's all going to be fine. But there is a lesson in here. What's the lesson? I guess. What's the lesson you're supposed to be mastering? Why is it hard to do this job? What's the block? Possible block or challenge? Show me 2 pictures. Possible block or challenge is greed. Greed is a possible block or challenge, and it's got a picture of someone with the teapot, and they're just overfilling the cup. So there's too much of something, overindulgence. Somebody wants more than their share, perhaps. Too many cups of tea. What else, dear Sage? What's in the block position? Jealousy. So somebody's greedy and envious, basically. And the jealousy was upside down. So what does that mean? It's a hidden jealousy, or they're not admitting it to themselves, or it's a particularly bitter and twisted jealousy. Jealous and greed is what's in the block each position. So someone has a lesson about jealousy and greed, or envy. Greed and envy, jealousy and envy, greed and jealousy. Jealousy upside down. Someone needs to get over their jealousy. Help us, guidance, please. Along with water, what else do we have in the way of guidance? patience. Drink your water and be patient. Patience, grasshopper. Another one. Yes, we'll go in a few minutes, pussycat. Another one. We will go and have breakfast shortly. I wish I could say the same for the people in Gaza. I honestly do. It would make me so happy if they could just be treated like human beings with dignity. That would be really good. It's amazing how the leaders, so-called leaders, don't seem to be able to manage that. Anyway, helpful advice, dear sage, for overcoming this obstacle as well, this job that you don't want to do. Patience, drink your water, be patient, one step at a time. You will be victorious. It's got the champagne on ice in this picture. I don't personally drink myself, but we could do the equivalent, have a berry smoothie or something. But you will be victorious if you're patient, you drink your water, you take it. It's a one step at a time thing. But obviously, mastering the lesson around this is a big part of it, and deprogramming the spells that are holding you back. So there's obviously a false belief that's causing conflict in this situation, and deprogramming that false belief, at least one, or projections. I'm actually hearing that there's a series of false beliefs and projections that are influencing the situation, and that is actually the job that needs to be done. That is the job. The job may not be thinking what you think the job may not be what you think it is. You think you have to go and restrain this person forcibly because they're acting out. No, that's not the job. The job is to go retreat inside yourself and discover the truth, the inner truth of the situation, and deprogram the spells that are causing that person to act that way by saying the inner no to them, if the sage agrees that that's the one that needs to be tackled, and then saying the inner no to yourself for all the defeating beliefs that aren't true about the situation or that person and yourself and your ability to handle the situation as well. So the main job here for you to be victorious is to deprogram a bunch of untruths in the situation, and then ask the helper of transformation to transform the situation on the atomic level. Just by saying no to something in your mind clearly with the right feeling has much more power than you may recognize. We are quantum connected, and people can feel the subtlest shift in your energy, even if they're not conscious of it. They're not conscious that they're tuning in or anything. Most people just don't know how to recognize their own psychic abilities. It's not that they don't have them, it's that they don't listen to them, or they don't acknowledge them, or they swipe them away. But it's part of your whole navigation system, and everyone has it, at least to some degree. So just fixing stuff up inside your own heart, cleaning out your own heart and mind, or and I just got told that somebody may have issues about security, which is why they're acting out, trying to dominate the situation, so that there may be some base chakra. I mean, that might be a good way to go to feel out where the blockage is. Go through your chakras and go, is this about security? Is it about will? Is it a heart matter? Is it a matter of expression? Is it how we're seeing, But there's something to be deprogrammed here in this situation. Quite a few things I'm hearing. And that is the job. It will take some patience, and you will have to drink your water, and you will have to do it one step at a time. But that's going to bring you an enormous victory, because you got the increase, which basically means victory, and then you got the victory card. So this work, if you can do it, be patient, do this deprogramming and despelling work. That may involve some, soul searching. It's shadow work, basically. It's shadow work for them and for you and for the situation and society in general. It might even be a societal belief about the way things are supposed to go that's incorrect, and that needs to be deprogrammed. It may be bigger than just you and the other person in the situation. It could be a belief that the whole of society has, and you may not be able to change the whole society, but you can say the inner no to it 3 times in your own mind and begin the domino effect. All right, so outcome, please, dear sage. Well, all right, most likely outcome. Okay, we've got friendship. Most likely outcome of doing this is friendship and sexual attraction. Wow, that's interesting. Maybe friends become lovers. Maybe there's an attraction there you didn't realise that could be influencing the situation. You might find that what seemed like aggression was just some kind of frustrated attraction. I don't know. But friendship and attraction, sexual attraction, so friendship and love is the outcome. So it's a happy outcome. You're victorious and there's all the good emotions there. But it's a slow, patient working through this thing, and water is very significant. I think it's just for the clarity. Maybe it's just like not so much coffee. I'm getting tea, and coffee might not be helping you to get the job done. You might be better off just drinking water on the job. Maybe if you're having too much caffeine or sugar, it might be making you go a bit ratty in the head, a bit frizzy. I can't find the right word. A bit frazzled, that's the word. You might be getting a bit frazzled if you have too much caffeine and sugar. Just drink your water as you work through this issue. Okay, that's good. One more card from each of these decks here. Okay, so I've got Life Purpose Oracle cards. I'll just pick one of these. What else plays into this situation that is helpful, please, Sage? What else helps heal this situation so that the job can be done or the transformation that brings the increase can happen? What else plays into this situation that is helpful? Helpful energy, please, for getting the job done. Study. Reading, research and education help you gain confidence and clarity. So there might be some more information you need about this issue. You just do a little bit of research before you begin. Get that question answered. And one more here from the animals. Helpful energy, please, Sage, towards getting... What was the original question here? About the job that you don't want to do. So can we please have a helpful animal energy about the job that we don't want to do? Well, cards jumping out everywhere. About the job, dear Sage, that the collective doesn't want to do. Helpful animal energy. All right, here we go. Horse. Freedom. You always have a choice. You always have a choice. I mean, maybe you're not even going to do the job. Maybe deprogramming the beliefs about the situation, that is the job. And that's doing the job. Just realizing that you have a choice not to do the job at all. Or you have the choice to do it, but your freedom seems to... I'm going to ask for one more card, please. Your freedom seems to be a factor here. Freedom is a helpful energy. Oh, yes. Okay, so a good decision frees you, I guess. The truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. You always have a choice. Remember, and maybe it's saying, maybe you feel you don't have a choice, but you need to remember that you do have a choice. There's something in this situation you feel you don't have a choice. You have to do this. And it's telling you, you do have a choice. So maybe that's one of the things that needs to be deprogrammed. You think you have no choice about some aspect of this job or situation that you have to deal with. And it's saying you do have a choice. It may be that exact thing that you think you don't have a choice on that you do have a choice. All right. We'll just have one more animal, please, that's helpful. Turtle. Stop trying to make something happen. Okay. Yeah, so what I'm getting is that by deprogramming these spells or false beliefs about the situation, it's all just going to flow much more simply. The friendship will flow. The attraction will open up again if there's an issue about that. That the transformation will happen naturally. The truth will set you free. The transformation will happen naturally and you shouldn't have to try so hard. There may be some crucial bit of information that's going to... maybe you think something's true that's not true. And when you find that, when you do a bit of study, you're going to find out that something you thought was true was not true. Potentially. You don't have to do it. Stop trying to make something happen. Okay, I think it's just going to flow naturally. The transformation's going to happen naturally without trying to make it happen once you deprogram the false ideas in the situation. That's pretty much it. Let's throw the dice. Whoa. Where did the dice go? Okay. One last clue before that we log off. Pennies from heaven fall for you, collective. That's one of my favourite ones. I mean, we always want to know that fate's running in our favour and that, but every time I get that number 11, it honestly does happen that some resources, usually actual cash money, falls out of heaven totally unexpectedly for you. So there's money coming in helping towards this situation. Maybe you'll be able to pay someone to do the job. Maybe you don't have to do the job. Maybe you can pay someone else to do it with the money that's coming in. I mean, that's just, I'm half joking, half not joking. There's going to be more money available to you, so maybe that affects your decision making in some way. To know that there's cash, pennies from heaven coming towards you, unexpected, and it's usually quite generous when you get this number 11. There's some unexpected resources coming to you, and that may help with this job that you're having trouble getting done, or maybe that will make you see the situation differently. But that was the last important thing you needed to know before we log off, is that pennies from heaven are coming towards you. All right, let's dispel any doubts we have about completing these tasks. Cosmic transformation will happen as all the misunderstandings and false beliefs are cleared. We say the inner know and rebuke everything that is not true and walk free, because the truth will set us free. Possibly piss us off first, but set us free. Thank you for stopping by. If you made it this far, collective, would you be so kind as to drop us a like or a subscribe or a recommendation to someone? I hope there was something helpful in there for you. I will see you again when I see you again. I'm not going to make promises about showing up when and how. It just seems to happen when it happens. But until next time, my dear friends, and you are actually lovely people subscribing to this channel. Until next time, have a wonderful day.